Mr. Speaker, I rise today to celebrate an important moment for the people of my state, of California, with the official qualification of Proposition 36 for the November ballot. This is the initiative to end the era of Prop 47 in California, which has been responsible for a huge increase in theft, in other crimes, in homelessness, in drug use, in drug overdoses, and a whole host of other problems. The initiative has qualified for the ballot and will be voted on by Californians this November, and I believe will pass overwhelmingly this November, in spite of one of the most corrupt schemes in the history of our state that was cooked up by the governor of California, actually a series of repeated schemes, all very novel and unprecedented in character, all directly meant to undermine the democratic process in California, all meant to continue to make our communities unsafe, and all of which, despite the governor having an overwhelmingly supermajority legislature, failed. The people of California, despite the governor's best efforts, will have the chance to reverse one of the most damaging laws in our state's history. And I think that it's simply important to note for all Americans to see when you have something like this that happens within our system, where you have an elected official, in this case the governor, who directly seeks to undermine the democratic process. After they tried and tried to stop this initiative from getting the requisite signatures to qualify for the ballot, in every way they began a scheme to try to remove it from the ballot, using a host of pressure tactics to try to get the organizers of the initiative to withdraw it. When that failed, the governor came up with a truly unprecedented scheme where they inserted poison pills into a smattering of existing public safety bills in the legislature. And these poison pills stated something truly incredible, which is to say that they would be automatically reversed if voters passed the End Prop 47 initiative in November. The point of this was to give the Attorney General a pretext for lying to voters about what the initiative would do. They'd say because now there was this poison pill that would reverse all of these public safety bills if voters passed the initiative, that the initiative is actually an anti-public safety bill. Fortunately, the legislature ultimately refused to do the governor's bidding. They said, this is too corrupt for us. We want nothing to do with it. And that plan failed. So then, in the 11th hour, when it was past the deadline even to put an initiative on the ballot, the governor offered up a Hail Mary, where he said, okay, I can't get the End Prop 47 initiative off the ballot, so what I'm going to do is put on my own competing initiative, which is watered down, which is a very weak initiative, but that'll be enough to confuse voters. And what's more, he put in there that if his initiative passed with higher numbers than the other initiative, then the other initiative would be wiped out in its entirety, even though there are a lot of things in it that didn't conflict. It was literally a mechanism that the governor proposed, drafted, introduced in the legislature to overturn the results of a democratic election in California, where the N47 initiative could have passed with 60% of the vote, and nevertheless, it would have been null and void, according to the trick that the governor tried to implement. He even moved back the deadline for propositions to qualify. He even moved back the deadline for the Secretary of State to number the propositions so that his own fake proposition, the imposter initiative we called it, would get a higher number and then have a better chance of getting more votes. Well, fortunately, this scheme failed as well. Once again, his own supermajority in the legislature refused to do the governor's bidding. And so now it's official. Californians will have the opportunity to vote on what has now been numbered as Proposition 36. It will be a fair vote where voters can decide whether we want to continue with this failed experiment or whether we want to return respect to our law enforcement officials. We want to have appropriate consequences for thieves. We want to be able to get drug offenders the treatment they need. We want to be able to hold fentanyl dealers accountable. That's what this initiative is going to do. And I condemn in the strongest possible terms the concerted efforts by the governor of California to thwart and undermine our democratic process in an attempt to keep our communities unsafe.